What's going on, guys? It is the Coaster Battleman here, bringing you an awesome video. 10 roller coasters that I could consider the best in the world. Now, this isn't ranking certain roller coasters from 10th to 1st and what I would highly likely consider the best in the world. I picked out 10 coasters that I think are considered the best in the world in my opinion. And let's move on to our first roller coaster, El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure. Some people actually consider this ride the best wooden coaster or even the best coaster in the world. This coaster has some amazing airtime. This is an airtime machine. It's just ejector airtime hill after ejector airtime hill after that first drop. And if you're in the back row on an Intamin coaster, you know you're going to get some amazing airtime. And this coaster is just an airtime machine. I can't help but love the amount of airtime that's on El Toro. Plus, it's a super intense coaster with bank turns, as well as those airtime hills. It may not be the longest roller coaster in the world, but it's still so intense and packs a very big punch that few coasters could match. So that's why it's on this list. I could consider it the best in the world because of those factors. Next on the list is Shambhala. This coaster is at Port Aventura Amusement Park, and this coaster was built in 2012. It was built 4 years ago, and this coaster, let me say that this coaster has some amazing floater airtime, plus the figure 8 type element is very cool. It's similar to the treble clef element on Fury 325, and this coaster is so good that it could possibly be better than Fury 325 in my opinion. Seriously, this coaster is an airtime machine when it comes to the floater airtime, and I really like that figure 8 element also on the ride. This is just a fun coaster that tons of people love, and definitely the best coaster at Port Aventura. Definitely the best B&M hypercoaster in the world. Next on the list is Fury 325 at Carowinds. Tons of people have been super excited to ride this Giga coaster. Everyone says it's the best in the world, but to me, not anymore. This coaster is very good, but to me, I feel like its layout isn't my favorite. Those bank turns aren't as good as the bank turns that are found on Intamin coasters, but this coaster is super fun, don't get me wrong. It may not be the most intense coaster in the world, but it does pack a great punch, front row or back row. You go 95 miles per hour, I'm sorry about that, and this coaster has some amazing airtime. This is just an amazing Giga coaster. But I don't consider it the best in the world, or I could. At one point in time, I considered this the best coaster in the world, but probably not anymore, but it's definitely top 10 or even top 5 in the world. Next on the list is Twisted Colossus at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Seriously, this coaster really turned Magic Mountain into a super park. Really, Twisted Colossus is a very great RMC coaster. If it's not racing, it's just okay. Or not just okay, it's still very fun, but not as fun as racing the other side. I feel like this coaster is nothing without racing against the other side to be considered the best in the world. Plus, this coaster has a beautiful color scheme with white supports, white wooden supports, and blue and green track. I love the color scheme for this ride. This is just a very nice looking coaster, very fun elements. There's 2 amazing inversions. The green side feels like a more intense side, but the blue side is all about the great airtime that it has. But this coaster, 2 amazing drops that are very steep and 2 lift hills. And this is a Mobius loop coaster, and I hope more coasters can become Mobius loops. Next on the list is Millennium Force at Cedar Point. Now this coaster is my number one roller coaster I've ridden. I could consider this coaster better than Fury 325, not just because I rode it, but because it's just pure fun. Like, the bank turns are super fun. Like, these are what bank turns should be. Long, very fun, and you're just hanging there. It's so fun. The airtime on this ride is super good. I really like the two floater airtime hills and the ejector hill. Plus, in the back car, especially second to last and last row, you fly out of your seat on that first drop. You're basically out of your seat the whole time. This coaster, it's so fun. Like, it may not be the most intense coaster in the world. It may not have any inversions, but this coaster, compared to the other Giga coasters like Fury 325 at Carowinds, or Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion, or Steel Dragon 2000 or Leviathan, this coaster is the original Giga coaster built in the USA at one of the most well-known parks out there, Cedar Point. Plus, it can appeal to tons of people. Seriously, this coaster could be considered the best in the world still, because tons of people, such as people that are under 54 inches and over 48 inches, can ride this, compared to Fury or Intimidator 305, where you have to be 52 or 54 inches tall to ride. This coaster can appeal to so many people. Plus, this coaster is just pure fun. Next is Expedition G-Force at Holiday Park. This coaster, let me just say, it's Millennium Force and Maverick combined into one roller coaster. I'm not really the biggest fan of the drop on this coaster, but this coaster, the first half is just pure fun with that sweet floater airtime and very fun bank turns. And then you get to the second half of the ride and you go through these intense bank turns and ejector airtime hills. Basically, one half of this ride is Millennium Force, one half is Maverick. But this coaster isn't in the hyper coaster range, but it's not a small coaster. It's pretty tall. I wish this coaster was over 200 feet. It could be considered a mega coaster, but either way, this coaster is so much fun and definitely considered the best in the world, possibly. Like, seriously, this coaster can be considered, in my opinion, the best in the world. This is just one of those coasters that's now on my bucket list. Next is Intimidator 305 at King's Dominion. Now, this coaster has some amazing intensity levels. Like, even though this coaster may not have the best airtime, this coaster is so intense. Like, all about those intense bank turns, the drop is intense. All this coaster is intense. You gray out or black out on that first bank turn. I really like the intense turns on this ride. Like, seriously, this coaster may not be as good as Millennium Force in my opinion, but I could still consider it the best in the world due to the high intensity level. But it doesn't appeal towards as many people as Millennium Force, so that's why I don't think it is as good, but this coaster is still very good. Maverick is up next at Cedar Point, and this coaster is super intense, has some amazing ejector airtime, two amazing inversions. The Beyond Vertical drop in the back row is super good. Front row's still a lot of fun, but I consider back row better on Maverick because I feel like it has stronger airtime. Plus, the launch on this coaster is very fun, especially at night, where you can't see a single thing. The lift hill is super fun. Everything about this coaster is super fun. Great intensity level. I just think this coaster is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Next is Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Sorry about that. Lightning Rod at Dollywood. The launch on this ride is super fun. You launch at 45 miles per hour. You get some nice airtime above the drop, the first tiny little dip type drop. Then you go up again, fly out of your seat, and go into the main drop of the ride. This coaster is intense. Like, seriously, this coaster has an intense layout. Never gives up in speed and momentum. The airtime is amazing on this coaster. It looks like basically the launch coaster version of El Toro and the RMC version of El Toro. Seriously, this coaster is super intense. I love the airtime on it. I wish there were sermon versions, but this coaster still is so fun. And Wildfire is up next, and I think it's the last coaster on the list. It is. Okay, now Wildfire, what a coaster. This coaster, steep drop, amazing coaster. Like, seriously, this coaster I could consider the best in the world. Like, looking at the layout of this ride, the inversions look super intense. The bank turns and side type airtime hills, whatever they call it. Like off-axis airtime hills, those look insane. This coaster just has a so strong layout. Its layout is so strong. Solid ride time. There's like nothing wrong with this coaster at all. I could consider it the best in the world. Definitely the best RMC out there. Like this coaster, bank turns, ejector airtime, off-axis airtime, inversions. Everything you can want out of an RMC coaster is in this ride. And let me say, these 10 coasters are over the top. They're some of the best in the world. But what do you think is the best coaster in the world? Did I miss any coasters? I believe I missed Superman the Ride, and that coaster is very good. It's known for its amazing airtime and spaghetti-like section. But thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos and subscribe for more if you're new to the Coaster Battleman YouTube channel. And stay tuned for more videos.